do an intro. Stuff is everywhere.
But all that was down.
I'll take this.
Over there.
Was it
Cross-legged.
Probably. You want me to go? Just whenever.
Go when it's.
Hi, thanks for joining me for this week's video. We decided to do something a little different. If you've been following our channel, you know that we post primarily travel videos and RV how-tos, but we wanted to give you a little dose of our daily life this week in showing how we are preparing for our upcoming homeschool year. We know people, when they are considering full-time travel, they oftentimes wonder what to do about their kids' education. Well, for us, we've homeschooled since 2012, long before we started full-time traveling. We love this method of educating our kids. We wanted to show you exactly what we do to prepare and kind of how we plan for our upcoming year, how we keep our records, and what types of materials we are carrying in our RV. So that's what this week's video is about. If you are not homeschooling your kids, that's okay too. Thanks for joining us. Make sure to like and follow, and next week we'll go back to our regular travel videos. One of the biggest hurdles when people are thinking about full-time travel or full-time RVing is what are they going to do about their kids' education. If this is something you're interested in, I would not let school be a hindrance for you, because homeschooling is actually not as difficult as it may seem at first. The first thing you're going to want to do is determine what your state's laws are. That way you can decide if that's something that you're going to be able to do to homeschool your own children. It is legal to homeschool in all 50 states within the United States. Many countries also offer legal options for homeschooling as well. You'll just want to do some research depending on where you live to decide how to homeschool your kids. The next thing you're going to want to do is choose your curriculum or your homeschool method. If you have not researched this, there are probably hundreds of curriculum companies out there, as well as several different methods of homeschooling. What I have found in talking to other RVers is that unschooling or online programs are quite popular, simply because if you're living in a tight space, you may not have room to carry around a lot of workbooks or textbooks or things like that. For our family, we've used a literature-based curriculum since day one. For those of you that are familiar with Charlotte Mason, literature-based is kind of based on her original ideas that instead of using textbooks to educate your kids, you use living books full of great illustrations, historical fiction novels, science books that have a lot of color and images in them. These living books teach in a more narrative format and more like you're telling a story. What that does is it makes it easier to retain the information the child's learning, and it's a more interesting way to learn. I will proudly say I'm a huge bookworm, and so I wanted to enjoy what I was teaching my kids with. Oftentimes, as homeschool parents, we take our kids into consideration, but we don't always remember the fact that we are going to be teaching it. If we don't enjoy the curriculum, we're not going to want to use it. So when I started homeschooling my first child, Brielle, back when she was 3 years old in preschool, we went with Sunlight Curriculum, which is the original literature-based program, and we're still using it now that she's in high school. I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing to set up for the year and what literature-based looks like in an RV, because literature-based includes a ton of books. So how do we store all the books involved in our literature-based program? When I'm talking about literature-based and books in Sunlight Curriculum that we use, it's a lot of books. It's not just a few books here and there. Our option for storage that we're using in the RV are these big plastic totes that have locking lids on them. We did this because we wanted something that would be weatherproof. If it got wet, we're not ruining all the books inside. I don't know if you can see in here how many books are in here, but these are some of the books that Brielle will be using in her high school program, as well as some of Steele's books. This box is heavy and hard to maneuver.
It's that little packet there in the corner.
If you're storing books, you really don't want water damage on them. That's why we did the locking lids. And we also threw silica packets in here You can buy these on Amazon in bulk, which is what I did because I also have hundreds of books that the kids have used in the past that we had to put into storage. You drop these silica packets into your bucket or your box that you're storing them in, and oftentimes they come in purses and things like that, but they keep the air dry in here. If there's any sort of humidity or moisture within your bucket when you lock that lid, your books are going to stay dry. And these, because they're for Brielle, these are brand new books, you'll see they're still nice and crisp and dry in here. So that was our plan with the books that we stored from our shelf. The nice thing about literature based is that you can use it again and again with multiple kids, and our kids have a nice big 5-year age gap between them. So I had several books that Brielle has used, but Steele has not gotten to yet, that went into storage that were in our house, and then we only brought in the RV what we're going to need for this year, beyond what we were finishing up at the end of last year. I have 4 of these totes in here. 3 of them were under the couch I'm sitting on. So it's deceptive, the amount that they hold. They look pretty big sitting up here on the couch, but we had 3 of them under here and then 1 under our dinette, and that's holding all of the books. We also have science kits that include all their experiment supplies that are about this size, and hands-on history, or history lap books, I'm sorry, for the history curriculum that are in books like this, or boxes like this as well. And between all of those different things and these big Rubbermaid totes, we've been able to fit everything under the places where we're sitting. So then what are we going to do when we start the year? I'll explain that next. Something else I forgot to mention when I was packing these boxes, I used a note card to write what was on it. So if it's a science kit, if it's math manipulatives, if it's foreign language, if it's history books, whatever it may be, I wrote it on a note card and taped it to the front of my box. That way it would be easy to pull out exactly what I'm going to need. Our curriculum is written for 36 weeks in the school year, but I'm not going to pull out all 36 weeks in the camper our first week of school. I'm only going to pull out what I'm going to need right now, and then we'll store everything else away until it's needed. Part of the reason that I chose Sunlight was actually their giant instructor's guides. I did not want to write my own curriculum. I did not want to piece together anything. I've been a working mom the entire time I've homeschooled, and frankly, I did not have time for that. And I really wanted a curriculum that had already done the hard work for me. They give you all the notes, all the schedules, comprehension questions, vocabulary words, geography, history, every subject that you're going to need for preschool through high school. Part of the curriculum is not just the stack of the books, it's also your big instructor's guide that's going to explain how to teach it. When you get these at the beginning of the year, they are shrink wrapped together, and then you build this notebook. This is actually the end of last year for Brielle, her high school program. So I'm going to take that out and store it away for our records, and then I'm going to build the new instructor's guide. Then the next thing I'm going to do is look through the schedule, and I'm going to pull the books that we're going to need for the first few weeks because they're different ages. Steele is going to go through his books much slower than Brielle will go through hers, but I will make sure that I have the first few weeks worth of books at hand, as well as the instructor's guide, any science kits, math workbooks, anything else that is assigned for what's up and coming. I'm going to pull those things out so that they're available, and we're going to store those in the pantry. I have one shelf in the pantry that is dedicated to school right now. My current week of books, plus my instructor's guide, is going to be on that shelf in the pantry that's really easy and accessible at hand. The way I keep it a little more organized is by using these collapsible magazine racks. I have a couple of them, one for each child. I use them to keep all their books and folders and things like that, and they do fold up, so they're really lightweight and easy to carry around in the RV, but it just keeps the shelf a little more organized because of course our pantry moves and things can shift around, and I don't want all my books collapsing or falling over. If you don't have something like this, a small basket or another method to kind of hold things in place would probably be helpful for you. But I have these and my binder and my books. And then what do I do about the school supplies? Pencils, pens, markers, all of those types of things that the kids are going to need to actually do their work. I like this acrylic Lazy Susan storage for my school supplies. Absolutely love it because the kids can carry this around. set it on the table. They can be working on opposite sides of the table, and they have everything they're going to need. Pencils, something to color with, scissors, markers, a hole punch, and a protractor. So we keep all the kind of basic school supplies where they're accessible and easy to reach. And I keep it very organized with these little section dividers so that it's very easy to find something when you're looking for it. Because of course in an RV, it's a small space. We want things to be easy to find. Something else great in the RV is like a little mini globe. We got this on Amazon, I want to say for $10. And it's great for geography. I do have maps within the curriculum that fold up, and we of course have our United States map on the wall where we put the stickers of all the places we visit in the RV. We have a few more school supplies as well, but the things we're not going to access as much, like the hot glue gun, that lives underneath the dinette, just like where we store all the stuff that we don't use on a regular basis. But that is how we keep all of these school supplies corralled and easy to use. Another thing that's super helpful if you're going to be traveling are clipboards. This is going to give the kids a working station no matter where they are.
Where'd you get those with their names on them?
I got these on Etsy. So I love Etsy for anything fun and creative. I was looking for acrylic. If you didn't notice in my Lazy Susan, I like clear acrylic school supplies. To me, they just look very clean and fun. And I saw these clipboards that somebody had where you could get the kids' names on them in whatever colors they want. And I thought, how cool is that? So that's about it when it comes to our school supplies. We do have an electric pencil sharpener as well and a few other things. But again, they're mostly going to fit on the shelves with our books in the file folder and the binder for our instructor's guides. Something else that's important when you homeschool is that you are maintaining whatever records are required by your state. If you're a stationary RVer and you're going to be in a state typically for more than 30 days, you're going to want to look at that state's guideline. I'm not a legal representative for every state. I'm just telling you to be aware of that if you're stationary. Brielle is starting high school this year, so we also will be doing grades and a transcript so that she can graduate and apply to colleges. Record keeping overall is relatively simple. You can do that online. You can do that in a notebook or something like that. But that is my plan with a literature-based curriculum. We're pretty paper-based, although the kids do type up papers sometimes and they use the computer for other things. We're not a fully online program. That's nothing that I ever wanted to do with homeschooling, although a lot of homeschoolers and road schoolers do like that online method just because it's simple and it's easy in a small space. Unschooling, that is also popular with homeschoolers. That is a very flexible approach. For me, I wanted curriculum so that I knew I wasn't leaving any holes or any gaps with the kids' education, and because it's gone so well, I've never looked elsewhere. What we do is relatively formal. It's a structured curriculum and a structured program, even though we're traveling, but not all RVers will choose to do that. So you're going to have to look at what's going to work best for your family to decide what you want to do. But again, homeschooling does not have to be as intimidating as it may seem initially. Our schedule is going to look very different than most homeschoolers, and that is because Brandon and I both work full-time, and we always have. We are working during the day, during those traditional business hours. So our homeschooling that we are doing with the kids actually happens in the evening or on the weekends, which is kind of unusual for most homeschool families. Traditionally speaking, usually there is a stay-at-home parent. They teach their child in the morning. Most kids are not going to take the same amount of hours that you have in a public school day because they're able to buckle down, get their work done on their schedule, and they just move through things a lot quicker. For us, we are able to do it in the evenings and on the weekends with our kids and still have plenty of time to give them a very thorough education. What they are doing during the day while Brandon and I are working, they are doing their independent work. As a child gets older, they are going to become more independent. And if you're on kind of a weird schedule like us, have them do their independent work first while you're working. In our case, they do independent work, they do chores, and then the kids have their free time until we're done with our work day. If you are homeschooling, you have the flexibility, you are in charge of your homeschool to make that schedule what you need it to be. It's one of the advantages to homeschooling is that you're able to do things like travel or work a different schedule or whatever it may be because you have that freedom and flexibility and your kids are not locked into specific dates or times that they're at school. One advantage to traveling that we have now that we did not have before is just so many more opportunities to supplement what we're learning. Something that we're doing, we are doing a 50 states unit study with this book of all the places that we go and we travel. So they have these big 2-page spreads where you can learn all about the state. And the state unit study is written more for you to do a notebook about your home state and your own state history. But what I love about this when we're traveling, we can bring the book with us. In any state that we go through, we can learn about the important people from that state, some of the history of that state, notable landmarks, anything from that state that's going to be really interesting for the kids. Another great supplemental program, or maybe you want to use it as your actual curriculum, is the National Park Service's Junior Ranger program. If you're unfamiliar with this, I wish we would have learned about this sooner, but the kids are given a workbook at every national park, and then they go through and they learn about that park, whether it be the wildlife there, the geological wonders, the rivers and the weather and whatever it may be in that national park, and they complete their notebook, and then they can become a junior ranger and they earn these badges. Another thing, there is a special program where for all 4th graders in the United States, you fill out a quick little survey online and they can actually get a free parks pass to the national parks for an entire school year. A lot of people who are traveling and RVing, they'll use that is a major part of their science curriculum, or that might be what they do for a long time with their curriculum. We're still doing science. Steele loves science. That's his favorite subject, but we always add that in when we're at a national park. I find for our family, the whole travel lifestyle, we do a lot of fun things, but we also do a lot of things where we get to learn about the area we're in, because we're not as familiar with that area. So it's kind of a grand adventure to learn about that place, but it also can be incorporated into your homeschool where your kids are learning without even realizing it. For me, that has always been one of the huge benefits of homeschooling. And now that we're traveling, even more so, because it has not hindered our ability to keep teaching the kids, and we're excited to start them up in their new school year next week and continue their normal homeschool process that they're very familiar with and used to, but now on the road with everywhere we go. And if you have any questions about homeschooling, there are a ton of great resources online that you can look into. Of course, drop questions and comments into our comments here on this video, and I would love to answer them for you. When I'm saying sunlight, it's spelled with an O, so I don't know if I said that earlier. But yeah, sunlight.com is the website. If you want to learn more about the curriculum, Sunlight does put on an annual summit every year, which is going to give you that great information for getting started with homeschooling. And there's a huge community of other homeschooling families who use Sunlight. I know for me that has been invaluable to hear from other Sunlight families. What are they doing? How are they using their curriculum? That's actually where I got a lot of the ideas that I use now. Things like storing books in the plastic totes came from the Sunlight Connections community. Also, storage like this, I saw some ideas in there. The clipboards, all of those different things that I've incorporated into my homeschooling were ideas that I saw or were inspired by other Sunlight families. And like I said, I've been using this curriculum since the beginning. I would never look elsewhere because it's been so good as far as giving me all the tools I need to teach. I do not have an education background. I never had a desire to teach. And I often joke that we accidentally started homeschooling. I thought it would be fun for 1 year when Brielle was in preschool. And at that time, I thought we'd do it a year or two and then put her in school. But it's because she was learning so much and taking off in her learning that I realized putting her in school would actually be a hindrance to her. And I am still very happy today, now that she's in high school, to say that she has learned and taken off, and same with Steele. Different kids, different styles of learning, but Sunlight has worked with both of them. Thank you so much for joining me. I know this video was a little different than what we've done in the past, and we definitely won't be doing stuff like this every week, but we did want to share a little more what is real life like, and it's not all just traveling when you full-time RV. What does our daily schedule look like? So I appreciate you joining me. If you have any questions about homeschooling, homeschooling with sunlight, homeschooling as a working parent, homeschooling as a full-time traveler, or anything else, drop that in the comments and we would love to answer that for you. Or anything else that you would like to see, kind of more of this day in the life type stuff, let us know and we will record that for you, in addition to all of our travel videos and some of those RV how-tos.